lives there,
to
though.
get a
Probably
two-year
double.
permit on a class two road, so
Probably about 12 grand a year.
there's a
Which,
question.
does he, I mean, yeah, if you can afford to go to Minnesota, great.
Is it just
I think it's like 38,000 a year. They're great at school. Yeah.
They didn't.
Well, that's what I told him. I said, if you want to intern at the county, you can intern for 1 year at the county. And then you get a job, like right out of college. You know what I mean?
That'd be right.
What's that?
That could do well, right?
So,
It's true.
yeah, I'll let you know if he gets closer to that, he's like, he wants to grow up.
I'm happy to. I love that.
And he's like your typical 60-year-old window worker, you know.
Probably 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, in the middle of June. Couldn't get it, we can't do it next Thursday.
His aren't done quite a bit,
Right.
but he wouldn't only do two sides.
Yeah, I'm not gonna use 3 times. We'll definitely speak it in on that mid-month meeting.
Would
Get that
you like
scheduled.
mid-month Thursday?
Thursday or Wednesday.
Okay.
I'll have to run it past the commissioners here and see what
Okay.
they think, what everybody's availability is. We have to have at least, 4 of us in attendance
Yeah.
at least. Or we'd be okay, because Tony and I'd be here. 2 more
Trustees.
commissioners.
Yeah.
So we have to take 1 year to think we can do that then?
Sounds like the 15th or 16th.
Tentatively, well, it'll be the week of the 13th, and it would be either the 15th or the 16th.
Do we know, when do we know that date?
Um,
So I know when to show up for something?
I can email you if you're on the record.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be the easiest, because we have to run it through here and more.
You're on the side of it.
Just email us the application.
Oh, that works too. Yeah, that's okay. You'll have it, I have it twice. I'll let you know.
All right.
Sorry for the confusion, sir. All right, let's call this meeting to order. Start out with roll call. Commissioner Mecca. Here. Trustee Howie
Present.
Commissioner Peterson.
Present.
Planner Sensky.
Here.
Isaac here. Clerk Ford.
Here.
Commissioner Bennett.
Here.
Commissioner Kennedy. Commissioner Zabriskie. Here. Engineer Rauch. Fire Marshal Brock.
He's good.
He gave me the look. We have no public hearings tonight. We'll move on to item 3, consideration and approval of minutes from April 28th, 2022.
Move to dispense with reading of the minutes.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
So, under new business, number 7, part D, it's all the way at the bottom of the page. It's about Papa Stash's special event. We had selected option number 2. It just shows option number, and it doesn't have enough which one we selected after that.
That was just the recommendations. So if you go into the motion, the plan commission and the board selected 2 different options. So 2 might have been at the board. So 1 was here.
I remember that from the board meeting.
Oh, so option number 1, okay. So it's just missing the number 1 down there.
It was blank because Mary didn't have an option. She was suggesting whichever option you wanted there.
I got it, okay. Fair enough.
I tried to look for it.
I know. Sticks out from like a circle.
a motion to approve the minutes as correct.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Item 4, public comments. Anybody have any public comments? Please stand up, state your name and address. Try and keep comments to about 2 minutes or less. There's no public comments, we'll move along. Item 5, old business. Wow, none. Item 6, new business. Item A, review, discussion, and feedback to the Village of Big Bend Library Director Carla Lang about replacing their existing freestanding manually changeable letter sign located along the library's Milwaukee Avenue frontage at West 230 South 9175 Evans Street with a full-color electronic messaging sign. The property is zoned B1 Downtown Business District.
I think the library director just wants to introduce an item that will be coming up for your review and consideration in the foreseeable future, and that is to replace the freestanding sign, the manual changing letter sign that's out there now along Milwaukee Avenue with a full-color LED electronic changing message sign in its place. And I'll let Carla just kind of tell you the background and what to expect, and ultimately, because it's a changing copy of electronic message sign, it does require planning commission review and approval.
So I'm Carla Lang, for those of you I haven't met yet, I'm the library director. We have a library patron that asked to remain anonymous, and she's donating a sizable amount of money towards purchasing the message sign. And we met with her, Warren, Jeff Goodman, who is our village board, library board liaison, and myself, and she is good for her word. And she did tell me that. She said, I know why you want to meet with me, so that you know I'm for real. And she doesn't have any problem at all with actually transferring the funds before we get going into this project. So now what we've done is just contacted a few sign companies, and then I contacted Mary and asked her where to go from here. I've never dealt with a project like this before. I don't know the verbiage, the words, the laws. I don't know much of anything, but I'm learning very quickly. And so what I wanted to show you were just 2 pictures we have. This is just the very beginnings, and just so you have an idea of what we hope to do, and then I'd like your feedback. So this was one company which we may probably won't go with because we have to buy the sign and ship from Florida. But that was a drawing that they gave, and these were just, you know, what do you want? We'll fix up some drawings. These are from Lemberg Electric, and he did a existing sign using the post that we have now, putting a new header on top. None of us really like the header, but that's all can be changed. And this is a 6 foot by 2 foot sign. This was an 8 foot by 4 foot sign. Price was about the same, however, this sign we would have to install, and we would have to contract somebody to do that. This sign is based on using the existing posts, and I've asked around. No one knows who put it in, no one knows when it was put in, no one knows if there's concrete below or how deep it is. They just put the sign in. It was donated by the Lions Club to the library years ago. I'm guessing 15 years ago. I really am not even certain. There aren't any drawings or any records in my library records.
I might be able to get some records from Milwaukee.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the line member that would have headed that project up passed away, but
That's
I
what I was told.
do have contact with Milwaukee, and I can ask them if they have anything.
I'll just, this is just for looks, if you wanted an idea of what we had in mind. I did contact this company and ask for a revised quote with them installing a post and not using the existing structure, just so we had something to compare with. Now, I think I need to find out from you if it's okay to proceed with this. I don't know
When you
where-
have the final plans in place.
Okay, so
Then
I
you
come
come
to
to the
you
commission.
with the quote that we've chosen, and then we work out. That's how. And you did give me the information that the other company requested, so I also forwarded it to this one, the ordinances that you have in place, so they have that. I'm surprised how slow they are. I thought they would jump on it, but they're not.
Has any of the sign companies been out and looked at the existing sign to, I
Lambert
guess,
did,
assess these,
yeah, and Lambert said they would send one of their engineers out. Our sign, they're the ones that requested the ordinances before they even come out. And next week, Stretch from up on 164, they do digital signs now. And they were gonna send 2 different salespeople here with 2 different examples of digital signage.
yeah, just to make sure that electrically it gets supported also, that'd be our
That's the
consideration,
biggest
so.
concern. I believe right now that there's 20 amp circuit, is that right? Just a regular electric outlet, so we're working with that. Apparently to run a new line is also a big project.
Annual.
I don't think we want to go that way. And also, this sign isn't going to be a library sign, even though I'll probably be doing a lot of the messaging on it. Warren would be doing the other. The donor, I mentioned that to her, I said, are you intending this to be just for the library? And she said, since you're the one using it, it's your choice. And I said, well, I want it to be a village sign, because we have a lot of departments that could use it. Fire, police, village, library. We don't have that much business that we could keep a sign busy all week long, but it would be a great asset to this community, I think.
Carla, did I hear you right? The sign that you're looking at from Lambert is 2 foot by 4 foot?
6 foot by 2 foot.
6 foot by 2 foot.
And that was because he drew it to fit within the existing posts, which are 7 feet 4 inches apart. And apparently signs go by increments of 2. So it would be 4 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet wide. And then the height is 2 feet, 3 feet, or 4 feet. And of course, the price goes up the bigger it is. But the other condition I'm finding out is the, correct me if I'm wrong, pixel pitch, how close the LED lights are. That affects the pricing quite a bit. But that also affects the load, the electric load. And it looks like, according to what Lemberg told me, we can only go to a 16 pixel strength with the electric that we have running right now. And I believe that's comparables like what Christ Lutheran sign is. That would be how clear it would be. So the smaller the pixel number, the more power you need, the clearer it is.
Is the 2 foot height, is that just the message board?
Just the message board,
Okay, so
yeah.
then the sign up top would be
In
additional
addition,
height
yeah.
to that, okay.
So it probably would, we have more of a, almost a square out there. I think it'll end up being more of a rectangle by the time we're done. But my concern was the electric, like you said. You know, we don't know how old that is, we don't know what shape it's in. And also the support, I don't know anything about those posts.
The signage on the top, is that gonna be illuminated also?
Yes, but it's real dims at night. Apparently there's a timer on this. That was a question that I did ask Mary about. I heard the term light pollution and that neighbors would not like that. I don't want to get the neighbors upset with us either. But apparently it dims down quite a bit at night and it's on a timer. I don't know what else I can answer. I think I just need to get more information.
Yeah.
If somebody's interested in doing this, quite honestly.
Well, the person
Little
that,
cost to the
she's amazing. She helps us. She's been volunteering for several years now. She helps me with the signs. And she came in and she said, what we have out there is almost broken. It just barely opens now. She said, I'm tired of working on that thing. It's really not a good sign. I'm going to donate money so that you can get a new one. And, well, bless your heart.
It's that level, that's for sure.
It is. She's a Big Bend resident, and she really supports this community.
Do you know for electrical, is that something the sign company deals with, or do they contract that out? I'm just wondering for getting the electrical assessed, is that something that would have to be explored by an outside company?
I asked Eric to look into what we have running out there right now, and I asked him to check with Miller what it would cost to have them upgrade service if we wanted to go to a 220 volt or higher amperage scenario.
Or even like assess like the condition of the cable, or I don't know if it's buried in conduit or if it's just underground.
Right.
If you put a new sign in there, I'd hate for the wire to fail, and then we don't have a new sign anymore. So, I mean, that would be the biggest concern, I think, is just electrical, just where it's ran from and what the condition is.
And that, I believe the one company I did talk to, Lemberg, said that's part of what they do. They, because they're Lemberg Electric. Yeah, but I don't know about the other companies. It's a good question. I will ask that.
Mary, is there anything specific to the sign that would have to be non-conforming to the code? Anything that we'd have to consider?
If they utilize the existing posts, they'll enjoy the benefit of a non-conforming, of expanding a non-conforming sign within its existing footprint. Excuse me. Otherwise, the setback, I think I have provided that.
I think it's 50 feet.
It's going to be 50 feet.
Okay. That's 50 feet from the right of way.
Yeah.
So it might be to our benefit to stay within what we have right now.
Right.
Okay.
But Carla, once you sell and give these regulations to the sign contractor, once you settle on the design that you favor, go ahead and reach out to me, and I'll give it that review that I would give to any sign that's coming before the commission, and give you the feedback and let you know what, if anything, would be an exception to the code, so we know that ahead of time, and can either adjust the plan, or you know that you might have to get a variance or a waiver of some
So
sort.
I could work with you before I have to come.
Yep.
Thank you. I will do that.
Awesome.
Might be a while, why not? Very fast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Carla.
I will see you sometime.
Item 6B, review, discussion, and possible recommendation to the village board regarding the certified survey map request of Neil and Christine Radotsky to divide their existing 5.36 acre parcel located at South 83 West 23325 Artesian Avenue into two lots, leaving the existing house and outbuildings on one lot, while the other new lot will be vacant and buildable. The property is zoned R2 residential.
This is a pretty straightforward request. They have just over 5 acres of land now. They'd like to keep their house and outbuildings on one lot and split off a vacant lot that would be buildable for another person. The certified survey map is compliant with the zoning district in respect to minimum required lot size, the minimum required lot width at the roadway. One of the unique features of this site is that there is a wetland that cuts through kind of on an east-west basis and leaves the buildable area to the south side of that designated wetland field. So in the conditions that I had suggested, you would consider attaching if you're inclined toward recommending this certified survey map for approval for the village board, would be that the new lot 1, the vacant lot, the applicant would need to provide us with evidence from the DNR that there is a way or a means to cut through that wetland in order to gain ingress egress directly from Artesian Avenue, which is the public road frontage to the new lot. And that we would want that evidence to be put on file in the village records as a permanent part of the file. And then the second condition, only that the village engineer would review and approve the CSM as to completeness, accuracy, and closure in the legal description, the board of village would sign off and record that. So other than that, I don't think there's any issues for you or concerns with the land division proposed.
Get any contact with the DNR about possibility of,
I'm Neil Berdowski, by the way, my wife Christine. I have not been in contact with the DNR. Basically I want to find out if I can even split this off and build there, but now, obviously I have to cross the creek to be able to build back there. There's nothing buildable on the north side of the creek, so.
backside of the landlocked?
Yeah, the backside's landlocked.
I think it's considered south side.
The south side, right, yeah. And,
It's access locked until some manner of approval is given to cross that.
Well, it's just it's
that
a
wetland.
big open park,
yeah, it's an apartment with wood and so on, but, there's an open area. And my other concern was, where I could bring a driveway in from Artesian Avenue, because there's quite a hill there.
Yeah.
So the safety concern on where I could come out. And so if you look at the survey map, my proposed division there starts, I don't know what they have for footage there, but I think it cuts through what used to be a pond there. And that at least brings a possible access down closer to the bottom of the hill to be a little bit safer. But I'm looking for, ideas of what I could do or where I could bring an approach from there. I already have an existing access from Artesian there, but it's halfway up the hill. It's 500 feet from my east lot line. And it doesn't give you a lot of time to get out on the road there. So, and obviously, if I can't get access from the DNR to go across the creek, there's no sense in finding the land. So I'm kind of here for information as well, what you guys would think of what I would need to do prior to return.
Well, I'm fairly confident, and Naomi, maybe you can help me with this, that there will be a way to cross that wetland or waterway. It's just a matter of how onerous the requirements of that crossing could be.
What the DNR's the requirements would be basically.
Right.
Okay.
So you want to reach out to them,
So reach out to the DNR and
ask them, what would it take to cut a driveway through here? From the village's perspective, there's nothing really that prevents us from approving the land division.
okay.
Because it does have public road access. It's the minimum required lot sizes. So from a platting standpoint, there really is nothing that the village can object based on.
Would the village have any indications where I can get a driveway through or access to the road?
Well, you're probably gonna have to work with a private engineer,
Okay.
or Naomi's firm maybe, could give you a bit of time, give you some guidance on that, as well as contacts at the DNR with respect to getting the driveway cut through there.
Okay.
That's gonna be the toughest part though.
Where's your access for lot 2? Is it off Artesian
Yeah.
already?
Well, what they're saying is lot 2 is our existing driveway now.
Oh, okay.
And that's.
And you'd want a separate, not a shared access to get over to lot 1?
Well, even if I did that, there's still another creek. There's a creek that goes
Yeah, so
north.
you're gonna have to cross twice.
Yeah, so it wouldn't make any sense to do that. There is another neighbor up the road, but I don't necessarily want to do that shared access onto his driveway. So,
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with the site distance at that location without looking at like going out there and taking a look at it and looking at some contours, so.
Yes.
But yeah, you're right, you wanna make sure you have it on the best location so you have
Mhm.
time to get in and out.
Okay, could I get together with you on something
Yeah,
that way, or-
I think we could look at it.
Okay.
Just give some basic understanding of the site.
Yeah, I'll get hold of the DNR first and
Yep.
reach out to you from there. Okay?
What you want to do is get some guidance on finding the path of least resistance
Mhm.
in terms of where you cross this
Yep.
wetland or waterway. And then also find the best point to connect them to Artesian so that you're not in a safety,
Right.
issue there with the hill.
Yeah.
So, and if I was you, I would, if I got the DNR's approval to make a crossing, I'd probably build it right away. Just download that.
Yeah.
Good, that's kind of information I'm looking for.
Yep.
Any other comments or ideas or anything I should be looking to do?
I guess, I don't think that it's an issue, but I see that the buildable area, maximum width is a little bit shy of 60 feet.
Right.
Is that any type of a hindrance for, I guess it's kind of a multi-question, Mary, is there any buildable area minimum that has to be looked at from a length width type of?
No, it doesn't even have to be buildable, to tell you the truth. The code doesn't require that there be a, certain minimum size of buildable area. So, very good.
Yeah, and then the setbacks are 75 feet from the wetland and 25 from the lot line. And is there, can I put a driveway in on the 25-foot setback?
Yeah, on the 50 foot, because they come off of Artesian, right?
Well, we're talking about,
As you come around here,
yeah, we're talking about the buildable area here. This is the south and this is
right?
Artesian.
So you'd come off
So
here.
I'd come off here and then
Yeah.
come across here and then I'd want to come around. Is that a possibility or not?
Like pavement setback? Do you have a pavement setback?
In commercial districts, we do, not in residential.
Can you driveway right up to the lot line?
Certain inspections might have an offset if they apply.
Yeah, so that was my other concern. All right, well, at least I know what hoops I gotta jump through at this point. And, we'll present that to you at a later date.
Sounds good. Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else you want to add?
There's no reason to table it.
No, it's just no action.
You could recommend it to the village board.
The type area.
Oh, yeah. You recommend approval of the board based on findings from the DNR?
here, but I want to come in from here. When I come across.
You can put it on the next
I was ready to hit this hill.
It's right there.
Put it right into the hill. This is the
But
one.
it's on the agenda.
So you can just approve it
So
subject
the
to
driveway
issue
here to the garage and then another driveway into a lower garage. Oh, sure. Oh, the land.
I heard that.
Also move.
Look for environmental.
I'll second.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to approve, recommend approval of the village board pending the DNR discussion. Any further discussion?
Yeah, maybe was there a concern about,
Yeah.
Oh, I was just asking, just because based on the wooded nature of the lot, I thought maybe there might be environmental corridor on here.
Yeah.
We usually see on the CSM a line, a digital line of where that is mapped.
Yeah. This is a DNR field verification of wetland. There is,
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not reflecting the environmental corridor, it's reflecting the field
Yeah.
area by wetland.
Okay. Is there a mapped environmental corridor?
There is,
Oh.
yeah, and it pretty much parallels
The wetland.
the wetland.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So that will be on the village board agenda for action next Thursday. I'm assuming you're not gonna have answers from the DNR. If you don't, we're gonna just table it until the next month.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
You're welcome. Item 6C, review, discussion, and possible recommendation to the village board regarding certified survey map request of Gregory and Sandra Peterson to divide their existing 2.36 acre parcel located at South 83 West 230-25 Artesian Avenue into two lots, leaving the existing house on one lot and the other existing buildings, for example, business use barn and detached garage, on a separate lot. The property is zoned B3 General Business District.
That's business.
So this is another fairly straightforward land division. The applicant has just over 2 acres of land. They would like to divide this into 2 parcels, one that would retain the house with its attached garage and driveway accessing Artesian Avenue. The other one would, lot 2, would contain the existing barn and the garage, the detached garage accessory building. And that's the location where Woodchuckers operates. So both lots have their own individual access, one to Artesian, lot 2 to Big Bend Road, and to Artesian. The lot sizes are consistent with the requirements of the B3 zoning district in terms of total area and lot width. The area requirement is 1 acre based on lots with sanitary sewer, and then it would be 2 acres if it were a lot without sanitary sewer. And I know we don't have sewer here yet, but I would say that it would be, I think it would be short-sighted to consider this area unsewered for the long term, because we already have pipe in the ground all the way up to Edgewood Avenue. And certainly this property would be captured in the next extension of that. And to start doing 2 acre divisions is going to be an underuse of the real estate. Meaning you're going to get larger lots with fewer lateral connections into your mains once you start running those mains. If you're going to continue to divide the lots that are within this approved sewer service area that the village has been given, though we haven't built the project yet. So by my review, I consider this to be a sewered area of the village. It's within a sewer service area that has been said to be approved by the DNR, provided we build a plant and run our sewers. So that, however, I'll turn over to the commission to deliberate on, but there were no other issues that I raised with respect to the CSM. Again, the lot sizes are okay if you consider this a sewered lot, or imminently sewered, I guess I would say. And the lot widths are okay. The existing buildings meet the required offsets from the new lot line that cuts through there, okay? So that's really all I had to offer. As far as conditions go, it would be that the village engineer would review the map as to accuracy of the survey and closure in the legal description. And then secondly, just that the applicant would satisfy any state or county level requirements as far as providing sanitary waste disposal and potable water supply to serve lot 2. I don't know that there are a well or septic on that site presently on lot 2. If there aren't, we would need an easement and evidence of county approval to show that there is sanitary disposal and potable water available to serve that corner lot. So with that, I'll turn it over to the commission.
Mary, just so I can get a point of clarification, so you're saying it would be your recommendation for us to look for future sewer services to make our decision based upon 2 acre minimum lots?
What the code says is that the minimum required lot size in the B3 district is 2 acres if you have no sewer, and 1 acre if you do.
Oh, okay, all right,
And I consider this an imminently sewer area.
okay. I get it. That makes more sense.
But that's an interpretation the commission needs to make as well.
Lot 2 doesn't currently have sewer and water.
No, what would happen is, we'll probably put a holding tank in a well.
And
As
would
soon as we could.
they continue to have access to the artesian exit, or would you?
No, that would be completely blocked
The
off.
Woodchuckers isn't in there anymore,
No,
right?
they moved out.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so that driveway would be taken out. And there would basically be a green space over there. And then you just have the 164 exit and entry.
What about electricity, is that separated between the two?
That is, there's, it has its own electric service, its own meter, its own, basically, it has its own address from years ago that the electric company uses, even though it is one lot.
I guess that would be with gas too, would also be separate.
Correct.
Are both lots then going to be kept as B3?
That would be my goal, but I understand if they have to change the one to residential, I'm not sure how that would work.
It's a pre-existing use in the B3 district, so it's a legal non-conforming use now, it can continue as a legal non-conforming use. If at some point you want to rezone it, to make it a use by right, you certainly can make an application to do that.
The main reason this is being done is so, my daughter's been trying to buy this from me for a long, long time. And number one, they couldn't afford the whole property. And number two, I kind of wanted to keep the barn area. So if I can divide it, she's gonna they'll buy the house, which they've already been pre-approved for, and I can continue to own the other property.
So any further business use of that property is going to need a new review approval.
Yeah, everything would have to be started over for sure.
Is there anything that like requires any kind of sewer, septic, or?
Yeah, the county will, that's why I put that second condition in there about, satisfying the county and the state. I don't know if there were sanitary and water on there, so I wrote that condition, understanding that whatever those requirements are for the county and state have to be fulfilled before the village board, before the village can sign the CSM. So if that means they have to be installed first, or if they simply need to be approved first, or if they can create easements, back to the system on the other lot temporarily, that is all up to the county or the state. And I defer to them, but the village won't sign off until that's satisfied.
Is there any facilities in there right now, or no?
No.
existing house has a septic?
Yeah, the existing house has its own septic and well.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve the applicant's request to divide the lot into two certified survey map lots with the recommendations from the planner being taken into consideration.
Second that.
Any further discussion?
I just have one thing, as I'm looking at this, I'm not sure we need ant easements on there. I'm not. On number two, easements for ants, just,
Oh,
I'll change that one for you, Todd.
what other than that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Upstate.
Motion carries.
I want to make that clarification on ants.
I left that out.
Item 6D, review, discussion, and possible action / recommendation to the village board on the conditional use request of applicant / property owner Jamie Peterson doing business as Extreme Exteriors Incorporated for temporary use and non-structural alterations to the vacant 5-acre site located immediately east and adjacent to South 86 West 22880 Edgewood Avenue. Proposed use characteristics include, for instance, outdoor parking, storage, moving around with trailers, pallets of pavers, wall, topsoil, gravel, and occasional outdoor burning. This property is Zone B2 Local Service Center District.
Planning Commission got a peek at this last month, but really didn't get a chance to take it up for any thorough discussion. It's a temporary use that, because of its potential to have adverse impacts on surrounding neighbors, vis-a-vis the outdoor storage, which will be screened presumably, and the potential for some outdoor burning on the site. So it's a temporary use that's being elevated to conditional use review status, okay? Which means a public hearing needs to be held yet, and the village board will also need to grant their approval to the temporary use, to the conditional use. So it's really very self-explanatory. The map is provided in your packets. What they would intend to do is grab access off of what's called Peterson Way, which is the drive that goes from Edgewood Avenue up into the Lake Park storage condos, and extend that as a gravel drive to the east until you get into the trees where he would like to tuck away some pallets of various materials and supplies related to the Extreme Exteriors landscaping business, as well as some trailers and vehicles to move those trailers around with. And they would like to stockpile some topsoil there from the Lake Park Phase 2 construction that's going on. And we would like permission to do some burning. It's not very well described how often or what that would be, or is there going to be a cumulative pile that would, sit out there until a fire would be held. So all of those details really are in the dump property conditional use that you see attached to the packet. And I won't go through them, over again for you. So 2 things are on your docket for consideration. And number 1 is to recommend approval of the conditional use grant, and if you recommend that approval, to schedule to recommend a date for a joint public hearing to be held between yourselves and the village board, so that final action can be given. With that, I'll turn it over to the commission.
So, I'll kind of start off here. Last month, we tabled this, if you guys remember, because of an opinion that was brought back from the village attorney on use of the land for liability, future liability, current liability issues from both the village of Big Bend, the village of Vernon, and current landowner as well. So clarification was reached with the attorney, and he basically, and Mary, please correct me, or Warren, correct me if I'm reading this incorrectly, that his opinion from last month stands. That
Right.
his recommendation is that there should be no consideration of further use of this property due to the liability that exists, both present and future, for both villages and the current landowner, and that there should not be any activity until resolution can be reached on what to do with the extent of contamination and the request from the state for remedial action on the site. Please again, correct me if I'm looking at that and not correctly, but that's what the attorney brought back to you today, Mary?
Yeah, let me read that one paragraph.
I have it pulled up if you want.
Oh, go ahead and read that then. I think it's the
Yeah.
last paragraph in his email.
Yeah. So,
And this is an email that, again, was sent last month to the planning commission about whether to use this dump site for temporary purposes.
so, Mr. Schober, Mike Schober comes back and says, as to the issues that are raised regarding storage of equipment and supplies, as stated, significant concerns also exist from our perspective. The site has identified contamination, the full extent of which has not been quantified. A remedial action plan to address the contamination has not been submitted or approved by the DNR. To my knowledge, all of the responsible parties have not been identified, let alone the extent of their respective liability. All of that relates to the past. To allow any use on the site that could possibly become a source of contamination would make a difficult situation even more complex and potentially expose the village to increased cleanup costs. So if a use has any potential contamination associated with it, it should not be allowed.
So is the concern the topsoil that they want to store there, I'm assuming? And I can't assume that a contamination issue is concerned with pallets and trailers, right?
Well,
Or is it they're driving the trailers on top of the contaminated soil to rile it up and put it on, whatever, put it on the tires?
it could be several different things. It kind of boils back to the fact that the site has not been fully delineated to tell where contamination is and what levels of contamination there are on the site. So basically, in the world of moving soils around, anytime that you adjust a site, you're going to have a change in several things, and that's the way that rainwater affects it. That's the way that traffic affects it. It could become airborne through dust. It could be a lot of different avenues that contamination can spread.
Correct.
If you have soils on site and you move foreign soils in, like the topsoil from the site next door, and then move those soils back out, you do have a chance that you can collect contamination with that.
Right.
There's all sorts of different things, and right now, because both villages and the property owner has written confirmed liability from the state of Wisconsin that has not been challenged and has not been fully proven to any other responsible parties, and who has what percentage of responsibility for that site, it's still within legal actions. And any further consideration of activity on that site that would disturb those soils, whether recognized or not recognized, could come back liably and indemnify one or more of the already identified responsible parties further. And that includes the village. And that includes the taxpayers of both villages. So That's where the concern comes from the attorney. Until what time that further contamination and action to get rid of that contamination can be brought forward, he's saying that we shouldn't consider an additional.
And I'd refer back to the email from the DNR, basically me sending all of this stuff over to him, saying he doesn't care whatsoever and finds no issue with it at all.
Is there a
Which
way
is in the
to-
packet.
Is there a way to waive responsibility onto the landowner based on that letter from the DNR saying that, you know, we are aware that they're not gonna be disturbing any of the existing?
I mean, this
Contaminated
site's
areas.
been worked over for the last 15 years. And there's been no issue. Most of it has had clean fill brought in to level out all the undulation and stuff inside of there, which instead of creating pockets that water can spread, it's been leveled off so that water can shut off of it. For Tony to say that tires are gonna track contamination off the site, if that really is the case, then you probably should really check your well water, because if there's contamination that bad that you're taking it off the site with tires, then there's some bigger issues at hand. And again, the DNR has no issue with this at all.
Well, the DNR is basically taking a stance that they're not making an opinion one way or the
Yeah,
other.
it sounds like they don't wanna be, it sounds like they don't wanna be liable for whatever happens.
Well, that's the DNR, they're never gonna take liability
Right.
for anything. But he also states in there, it's your property, I see no issue with storing topsoil there, I see no issue with storing anything there,
Yeah.
you know.
I guess the question just becomes if the village attorney is advising us to follow his lead. Is that what I'm understanding here?
I'm just wondering if there's language with the village attorney that we could just separate all liability on there based on the letter from the DNR and what he says he's gonna do by saying that he's not gonna disrupt or disturb anything
Right.
that's existing.
Well,
That way, our basis is covered and he gets to do what he wants with the property.
as much as that might be a possibility, I think that would probably be best for the lawyer.
Right, that's what the lawyer would have to
The lawyer's gonna have to
figure
look
that
at
out.
that and say, Mr. Schrober's gonna have to say, could we release liability from the village, not only from us as a village, but as Vernon's involved too with this, correct? They're like, it's like a part,
That's my understanding they are.
yeah, so, I mean, then you have to get the village of Vernon involved to say, hey, we've signed off on this as a group, the liability shifts to the landowner based on the recommendation from the DNR. And then if the attorney came back to us and said, yeah, that's cool, I think then I would be for supporting it, but, I mean, if the village attorney's telling us, I think I would pump the brakes on this, I would be more advised to listen to what the attorney says based on recommendation for the village.
Has the attorney read the DNR letter? Did they provide
I'm
it with
sure he's had it a few
Yep.
times.
Yeah.
He's got it.
My problem with that DNR letter is having dealt with the DNR. Yeah, you're fine. Oh, look what you did here.
Yeah.
That's gonna cost everybody.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but you just gotta make sure that you got your ducks in a row. You know what I mean? Because it's not just, it would be one thing if you guys were just coming to us saying, hey, like, it's our property, we're solely liable for it. If we dig up a bunch of toxic stuff by mistake, it's gonna be on us anyway. But the fact that the two villages are commingled into this whole thing, that's where we just gotta make sure we do it right.
Well, I don't think the attorney would have ever had any type of opinion on it whatsoever had Tony not sent an email to him, basically telling him what to tell you.
I understand that, but
So you're
again,
following the advisory of the attorney that was basically advised by Tony what to tell you guys.
I don't think I advised the attorney anything. I asked
Your
a
letter
question.
was, your email to him earlier that day was pretty clear, like, you made it sound like there's toxic sludge that are gonna roll out onto the road and down, and then the kids are gonna walk in it and bring that into the school and everything
I
else. I
remember
mean,
exactly me saying that any place in there. but-
you didn't say it, you insinuated it.
but I mean, I would have to think, because I just dealing with some of the stuff that I deal with at work. The attorney's not gonna issue opinions that are not valid or have some kind of backing behind it. The attorney's not gonna just make that kind of opinion just because he doesn't like you, or he doesn't like me, or he doesn't like
That's not what I'm saying. I'm
You
saying
know.
that,
there's a valid reason behind him making that recommendation to us. If he fully felt that there was no issue, he would issue a recommendation to us that says, hey, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And then we would all just say, yeah, we would love to approve it, you know? It just kind of I think it puts us in a hard spot, because I know, I've been on the planning commission long enough that I know you've been here a bunch of times, and I know this is super frustrating.
well, you're basically telling me I have a 5-acre lot that I can't touch.
Well, I think
And my frustration is, I want to get this remediated, I want to get this taken care of. My holdup is you guys. It's the village of Big Bend and it's the village of Vernon. You guys won't do anything with this. So you basically keep telling me, you can't do anything until you get this taken care of, yet that's on us to take care of it, but we don't have the money to do it, so we're just gonna set it aside and leave it alone.
I understand that, but it's shared liability, that's the issue here. I think that's what is, unless I'm seeing it from a wrong standpoint, I mean,
Tony keeps saying, we need to get this fixed, we need to get this taken care of, we need to get this testing done, with this, that, the other thing. But he's pushing me to do it. When it comes to the village of Big Bend and the village of Vernon, who are responsible parties way more than I am,
right,
and when it comes to paying out money, the only person that's ever put any effort in or money into making sure that this is being taken care of is myself, or ourselves.
right.
So,
But you guys 100% own the land, correct?
yes.
I mean, the village doesn't have any claim or stake to that land.
The responsible parties through the DNR, it's your percentage. Vernon is gonna carry the bulk of this.
Correct.
Then, because you guys rented basically the space to dump Big
Right,
Bend,
right,
you're gonna carry the next higher percentage. And it goes on down the line.
right.
Me being the landowner, again, we've already spent a fair amount of money here.
Right.
So,
But I mean, don't you guys assume some kind of risk buying an old landfill site? I mean, don't you, I mean, you guys you bought it from someone knowing there was a landfill there,
Mhm.
right? I mean, so you have to assume there's some risk there.
right.
I mean, I can remember many years ago, I almost bought a piece of property, and then I found out on the other side of this fence, like 100 feet away, there was an old landfill. And then we went and checked with the neighbors, and they're like, yeah, all our wells are contaminated.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't buy that land, because I didn't want to assume the risk.
Right.
Can I say something?
What does Vernon say about this?
If I can say something, Tom. So, when we got the land back in 2000 or whatever it is,
Yeah,
before we bought the land, we went to the DNR. Because we knew it was a dump. I mean,
yeah,
I've lived in Big Bend since 1963. I've been through it all here.
sure.
So we knew it was a landfill. We went to the DNR. DNR, we asked, well, what can we possibly do with this landfill if we buy it? This is before we bought it. They said the ultimate thing would be to put that it was paved. So there's no runoff, there's no water going down into the soil.
Sure.
That would be the thing. So we talked to them about, well, mini storage units. They said that would be perfect. With that in mind, we said, well, why not? We bought it. We went through all the work of having this thing rezoned from one thing to another to another.
Okay.
And everything, we did everything to the T, everything that we were supposed to do all the way along. So now when we want to actually do something, we can't do it.
Yeah,
So that's the frustrating part. You know, I understand all this, the liability stuff like that. I understand all that, but I think there's got to be some common ground between everybody that can benefit all of us at least a little bit. We're not even asking to put the storage units right now. We're just asking
I don't
to
disagree.
put a little bit of stuff over there
Yeah,
while we're trying to finish phase 1 or phase 2.
right. I don't disagree with you, I just think that, I mean, the way I feel about it is, if the village's attorney does not feel that way, then I think that I would be compelled to agree with what the village attorney says. You know? I mean, it puts us, it's like a rock in a hard place,
Do
but,
you not worry about sometimes having a lawsuit brought against the village because of this kind of stuff? Because when we went to the village in the beginning, they knew it was landfill.
Right,
They approved us for storage units over there.
right.
All that was done.
But I mean,
So now you're telling us after, because there's a new board in here,
yeah,
now you're telling us now that, well, wait a minute here. That was the old board, this is the new board. You should have bought, you should have bought the land.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe we should, it doesn't really matter at this point, it's a moot
Right.
point. We have the land, we wanna do something to benefit the village, which you're getting tax revenue on. We wanna do something to benefit Lake Park, which is to pave that over so we don't have no more contamination going through the ground. That's what we're trying to do. We're not,
right,
The village didn't change its stance on what you do with that. The DNR forced all the responsible parties' hands by saying that needed to be remediated. That was not our doing. We didn't call any attention to that. That was the letter we got in December of 2019, I believe it was.
It's been issued a total of 5 times from about 2008.
Right, but that's my first knowledge of it,
yeah.
coming in. And when that
Mine
happens,
as well, yeah.
when I'm told that we can't do anything until that's remediated, I've got to relay that onto the property owners.
Well, we've,
but how
that's,
can we remediate something where the village is not willing to put their foot forward to help this matter get taken care of? Not because we want to build a landfill, because if it's such a contaminated area that everybody's so worried about it contaminating everything, I would think that would be like the village's first thing they want to do is let's get this thing taken care of. I mean, we spent probably $50,000 on testing over there already.
I was like 85.
Whatever. I mean, that's the problem.
Right.
So, because you guys don't want to do nothing, you're basically handcuffing us, saying that we can't do nothing.
It's not that we don't want to do anything.
No, I understand.
You understand, if I go to every door in this village, I'm gonna get probably a 20 to 25% thumbs up on raising taxes to cover the cost of
What I would
our
ask,
portion.
what I would ask for then is for the village to do some due diligence, use your resources, use your retained attorney. There's government TIFs out there, environmental TIFs, not even just DNR TIFs, but there's other resources out there that we can get grants and stuff to clean this up. But again, I've sent multiple emails to Vernon and Big Ben, and I don't even get responses like, hey, can we sit down and get together? Can I get on the shared services committee or sit down with you guys and talk about it? It's just like blank, but then, you know what I'm saying? Like, utilize some of your resources, your staff, your engineers, your attorneys, to maybe do some investigation on your own as to, you guys probably, attorneys are gonna have better sources for attaining some of these grants and tips and stuff like that than I would be able to.
Right.
But there's been,
The other problem we have there is every time I get my village engineer or attorney or someone else involved, there's a cost associated with that.
well, you don't have to tell me that.
I know, and that gets billed back to the property owner.
Well, but this shouldn't get billed back to the property owner. This should get billed to Big Ben because you guys are responsible parties. Guys should be sharing this cost with me, even if it's attorney fees and stuff, because you're responsible. Inevitably, whatever happens, it's gonna cost you like it's gonna cost me. And the same thing with Vernon. I'm just looking to get this thing started. I mean, I've been looking into this stuff as well, but, you know, I only have so much time myself.
And I think if this property is as contaminated as Tony says, which, whatever it may be, I think that maybe you should be focusing your energy on trying to get this done instead of worrying about us moving a few pallets around.
Are you talking to me directly on that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, then I've challenged both the villages and the DNR to step forward as well. It's not directed all to you.
No, I didn't say it was, I'm saying you, as being a concerned citizen, maybe instead of focusing so much on that's contaminated, doing something about it. Instead of making one phone call, maybe you should do something about it and really get on the ball. You know your stuff. I know you do. Maybe you're the one that should be out there fighting to get this thing remediated before your whole little community gets
And
totally infected with
That's
it.
right, I already am. I'm already doing that, if you don't know it, I am.
All I know is what you're doing at the meetings here. That's all I know.
Well, then from a property owner, maybe you need to get more involved with the villages as well.
Well, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I'm here to get more involved with the village. I want to see, again, I've been in this village longer than most of you people were born. I want to see this village thrive. But there's also some common sense things that need to be looked at instead of strictly by the book in line item no. I think we have to, we're not gaining anything. There's businesses that don't want to come here, and I can tell you a lot that talk to us because of the way things are. And I think that some of this should change, and that's why I'm on the committee. I want to see the village thrive.
But we have to abide by what the lawyer says as
Yeah,
far
I was
as
just gonna
liability.
say-
If we extend our necks out like this, when the
Yeah.
lawyer is advising us not to, we're putting ourselves in a very bad
We're not
situation.
asking, we're not even asking for that.
Well, I'm just saying, based on what we're looking at tonight and
Correct.
talking about tonight, is we have to go by what the attorney says.
You
And
guys
if you
have
go
a-
around that, it's gonna be very bad on the planning commission's part to do that.
Right. You guys have a vested interest in the property because you own the property and you guys want to potentially develop the property but the commission's role is to, I mean, obviously we discussed this as a group, but I mean, when the attorney makes a recommendation to us, based on wherever he gets the information from, whether he gets the information from Tony, whether he gets the information from Warren, whether he gets the information from DNR, if he makes a recommendation to us, it's just no different than, Mary or Naomi they're subject matter experts in what they do. So when they give me a recommendation, I'm inclined to follow it until.
I'm not blaming any of you guys
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
at all.
I want
I'm not,
to see you
because
develop it.
nobody's gonna go against,
Yeah, we
if
should.
the attorney says don't, you can't.
Yeah,
Plain and simple, I understand that.
I mean,
I said from day one here, we have hired professionals that work for us, whether it's engineers, planners, assessors, attorneys, whatever. We pay these people, I'm not gonna say a lot of money, but we pay them as well as we can. And it's in our best interest to listen to their opinions when they speak. Whether it's on an engineering matter, or a planning matter, or whatever, and take their considerations, to heart. When an attorney rules on something of a legal matter, we all be really dumb to not follow that because there isn't an attorney in this room.
So should the answer be, drive in and out of there, don't touch it no more, leave it to look exactly like it is, let all the weeds grow up, let everything go over there because nobody wants to do nothing. Because Vernon, Big Ben, they don't want to put the money out to get this thing remediated. We can't. I mean, it's not even my problem as much as it's theirs. They're the ones that contaminated the site, even though we bought it. We'll just let it go? Is that the answer, Tony? Just,
yeah, it's a tough one.
or
You guys-
anybody, should we just,
You guys bought it.
I know, but are we just gonna table this and just let it go and just let the property go to, just let it
We're
go?
not talking about remediating it, we're talking about storage of materials. I mean. if
No,
we're-
I'm just saying, what are we, is that, so if that's the final answer, the attorney says no, okay, that's the end of it, because we can't.
No to the project that you're planning, you're
But how is that any different than us driving a tractor on there to mow the lawn? If we can't drive trailers in and out of there to park them, how is that any different? I probably shouldn't be driving a wheeled tractor in there to mow it without.
This has been going on since
Yeah,
the
I know.
'80s, people been driving in and out there.
I mean, you could split hairs about it all night. It's not that I totally disagree with you. I understand the trailers, the tractors, but when you're talking about storing potential soil there, the attorney's looked at it, he's looked at the shared liability, and he says, look, I don't think this is in the best interest of the village. I think you guys should not allow this.
Can you give us a recommendation then, what to do?
Well, go ahead. I was just gonna say, I mean, we made Chris had a good idea. He says if you guys can have a meeting with the attorney and say, hey, if we'll pass, you can find a way to pass the liability from the villages off to the property owners, then you can go ahead. I would say then, as long as the attorney's good with it.
Does that work for you, Tony?
I mean, that's
Yeah, I mean, that would be the start of allowing us to.
Because if we do that and spend the money, then is something else gonna come up? You know, that, all right, you can keep getting around and doing different things to make this thing not happen.
Well, as you well know, there's people that live and have adjacent property to that have concerns with things like dust and noise. You wanna make sure that that's addressed. Portion of it is in here, but for enforceability, we would need to talk about that. Burning, there's a large issue with that on the property. Yeah, there's things that we would need to discuss. And we've already addressed that whenever you guys first came.
Well, the burning, isn't that a matter for the fire department? If they say we can burn over there, is that causing some kind of?
Well, it's not, your public opinion has to play into this. You're looking for a conditional use grant. There's going to be a time for the public to come in.
But I'm saying, if we don't get the conditional use grant, we should still be able to burn.
I already have a burn permit.
We got burning permits for the property,
I
we
purchased a
paid
burn
money
permit
from
for the property.
Mr. Braun.
For the landfill property?
Yep, I've had one.
How do you address the potential for methane release on there? Because that was
See what
already
I mean?
addressed by the DNR. I'm just asking, because back whenever
We don't know if it's there or not.
in 2018, whenever you guys applied for your permit to put in many storage warehouses, the DNR came back and gave you the permit for on-slab grade that said that methane systems had to be put in so that methane would not be released from the soil, come up through and go into the buildings and.
Well, that's because of the excavation that we'd be doing to put the slabs down.
It's an uncontrolled landfill that does not have a cap and it does not have any methane.
It does have a cap.
It does not have a cap on it. Show me where the cap is and I'll
Well,
believe
you show me where it isn't.
The DNR has verified that they are not.
Right, but that doesn't mean that it's not, it just.
Right.
There's no
But
methane collection
we don't
system in
have
the
that
landfill. That means methane comes up through that soil, uncollected and unsupervised. You put a fire on top of it. I can't tell you one single landfill in the United States where there's a permit to put a fire on top of a landfill.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned, I mean, if we move forward with this, I'm a little concerned that the DNR, email to the DNR doesn't reference burning on the property. So it does reference storage, it reference even stockpile, but that kind of just struck me as something maybe that should be clarified with the DNR. And then, as we kind of move forward with this site, I just want to keep in mind, well, this is maybe a temporary use. And you want to, and rightly so, you should put down materials to protect the topsoil if you're going to stockpile it and keep dust down. When you put down the gravel or the material to drive on, will you be eventually removing that?
No.
Okay, so then we really need to pay attention to the amount of area you disturb, because once you go over an acre, you have to do stormwater, and that's going to be hard on the site. So I just want to throw that out there.
Right.
Now, when we come back, if this comes back again, we're going to need to see like the real area, because we got to be careful with that.
My entire point of this is you're not allowing us to do anything. And the actual point of this whole thing is if I didn't apply for this, us simply driving a machine through the property, we would get a phone call from the neighboring community. Whatever we do over there, I was trying to go about this the right way. I can go down and cut every single one of those trees down right now, tomorrow, and I don't need your approval for that. As long as I'm not removing the roots.
Why are you looking at me? I wouldn't approve that anyway.
I'm not looking at you specifically. I'm just saying, like, it's a 5-acre piece of property in the middle of the town, and you guys are basically strong-arming us to say we can't do anything. Because anything that I do over there, I don't have a site plan of operation whatsoever. Right?
Jamie, you guys took it through this process of getting it rezoned to B3.
Right.
We all had high hopes that the mini warehouse project would work out, and that because that type of development results in a cap essentially being placed over the site, that was gonna be the solution to this whole thing.
That's what I'm trying to do.
So the rezoning was completed, but it triggered, the site plan idea triggered some deeper review by the DNR. And they decided to come out and say, you know what? This isn't just a matter of putting a mini warehouse project over the top, it's capped, it's done. There's gonna have to be some remediation. So none of us could have expected that was coming, but it came. So that changes everything. So now the property is still zoned B3. And anything you do in the B3 requires planning commission review and approval as to the use. So if it's just incidental use, you know, you're in there mowing or you know, doing anything that doesn't deposit new material on the site, remove material from the site, it doesn't really constitute a use, but it's just an incidental presence on the site for a moment in time, that's fine. Anything else that you want to develop or use the site for in the matter of routine has to go through the planning commission. And in this case, what you're proposing qualifies as a conditional use, okay? So we're trying to take you through that process.
Right, I understand that, but
And any other use that you might come up with, we're all gonna be in the same spot, where you could repropose your mini warehouse project, but we know now that the DNR is very probably gonna kick it out and say, no, that's all well and good after you remediate this.
right.
So,
So as of, like, because I have no site plan of operation, really, we can't even step foot on the property.
well, even with a site plan of operation, that's what I'm saying. We still have that same responsibility to get the DNR's approval for whatever it is you plan to do, whether it's this temporary use or whether it's some other, more complete use, developed use of the property.
But
You're still gonna face that same loggerhead, which is that the DNR has said remediation first.
Well, they didn't say, the DNR actually said, yeah, you can store soil, you can store blocks, you can store, we don't care what you do over there as long as you don't disturb. That's in that email.
Yeah, that's
So-
right.
So
That's right.
you, in the original letters that were sent by the DNR weren't brought up because of the storage units. Those were sent before that ever even happened.
Okay.
So I get what you're saying, but my main issue is anything that I do down there, I have some I have neighbors that watch everything that happens over there. I'm pretty sure they have video cameras on the property. So anytime that I run a machine across it or whatever the case may be, I get a call, or I get a call from the building inspector. I was trying to go around that and do this the right way and come in here to say, yeah, we're gonna put a couple trailers on here, whatever the case may be. We're just gonna sit here and not be able to do anything. And like you said, just leave this property go wild. Then I'm gonna get complaints from the neighbors because there's weeds encroaching into it's a no-win situation for us.
Yeah, well, we're trying to cooperate by, and I mean cooperate, maybe try to get to some mutually beneficial end by taking you through this conditional use process, but the points that are being raised are valid legal points. If your attorney says, don't exacerbate the situation, and I don't know how a commission or board can move beyond that.
I guess I'll just have to have a conversation with Schroeder then, and,
I mean, if
it's just like the DNR, I got an email yesterday from my environmental consultant in the DNR, everything's gonna be approved for keeping that soil on site, and all he asked for is what type of vegetation we're putting on it, and he'll be writing the approval letter next week. So again, that's another case that the DNR does not care that we're moving soil around that site. I just feel like Schroeder reacted to Tony's email. He would have never had an opinion on this had he, I seen the email that Tony wrote. That's all I'm saying.
Right. And the attorney reacted to that
And if you look at the beginning of the email,
But I mean, it's the, like I said, I think I always try to look at it from both sides. Like if you had a business deal and your attorney came to you and said, hey, Jamin, I wouldn't do this. I don't recommend you do this. Would you still do it? Or would you, you know what I mean? So that's where we are. We're on the flip side of that. We're trying to look at this from both sides. And I
wouldn't say Tony told him what to say, but with Tony's background, I'm very thankful he's with our village, with his knowledge of environmental issues. He knows more than the attorney does about these things. And when you ask the questions the right way and frame them the right way, you know, the attorney's gonna be backed into a corner and go, no, I'm not defending that, we can't defend it, we'll lose. Because we willingly permitted it. And the fact that we have someone on the planning commission and the village board that has knowledge of what really needs to be done, the fact that the village can't afford to do it is a separate issue.
well, it's not for me.
I understand that. I totally understand that, how much money you guys got involved just on that 5-acre parcel.
And the reason that I brought that up, Jamin, was nothing against you or Extreme or that site, other than the fact that I've seen what has happened to other communities that have allowed conditional uses or use of properties that have buried materials underneath it. It's happened to Milwaukee at the Marina Cliff site, I'm sorry, Oak Creek at the Marina Cliff site. It's happened to Milwaukee at 5 different sites that's related to similar situations as this. Old landfills that contain a lot of different issues inside of it. It results in millions of dollars worth of liability.
that's the DuPont site.
That's one of them.
At Oak Creek, right?
Yeah, Marina-
I'm familiar with that.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a hot mess.
And that's the reason that I bring this up. I asked the attorney for an opinion on it, and he gave.
I guess I don't understand the liability for parking some trailers and a couple pallets of stone on it. It isn't anything that we haven't done for the last 20 years. Okay? It's less than what we've done on that site for the last 20 years. I think the reason you brought it up is because your neighbors don't want to see what the stuff that's sitting on there from their backyard.
We motion to table this based on the attorney's recommendation.
Or you could simply take no action and schedule a joint public hearing with the board for a few weeks from now and see if all the parties, including the village attorney and the DNR, can weigh in on the question of burning.
I don't even care about the burning. I mean, I just put that in there as an extra. I can take that out. It
And the
doesn't
question
bother me.
of whether the liability can be waived off by the property owner to relieve the village and the village of liability for this single-use permission. I just want you to know that's an option.
What do the commissioners think about the options?
You said 2 weeks. Is that gonna be adequate time to get everyone together?
I think it was
Well,
about 3 weeks.
The biggest hurdle is publishing a notice for a public hearing. And it would be, about 3 weeks from tonight. Be looking at the week of the 15th or 16th of June, depending on what everybody's schedule permits and who can make it from here. You do? So 16th, the Thursday.
So that would be, they would be looking to go ahead and move forward with a public hearing on it, even though that it's not being recommended for further advancement to the board from the planning.
That's why I'm telling you that's your option.
And you do the public hearing would be for the planning meeting, for the recommendation of the planning meeting.
Public hearing would be before the board and the planning commission meeting. After the public hearing, you hold a planning commission meeting, and at that point, you make a recommendation or not to the board for approval, amongst other agenda items. rejects.
But the attorney would be present during that planning commission meeting where we would have discussion?
Yeah, I would have the attorney here for the public hearing and the planning commission meeting and the board meeting. I would also try to invite the Village of Vernon and the DNR in for the public hearing. Just so that Jamin has his back covered from the DNR side. You know, I want him to say, good to go. You know, and I want everybody to hear it.
To address Naomi's concern, is there a way you can create a better plan and layout so that you're not covering that?
Gotta make sure we're under an acre.
I mean, it's all super gravelly soil there. I don't even need to necessarily, to be honest, this is so temporary that it's literally probably a month or two of a transition to get from one point to another with the material, because we're moving forward with phase 2, obviously. I need to get the stuff out of there. That's all it is. I could store it in the grass and not disturb any area. That's what I was looking for.
Well, just to clarify, that 1 acre would also require an NOI from DNR, so let's just be under that. I mean, well, you can do what you want, but that's my guide. It's easiest.
I'm in Iowa,
The 16th?
the 15th and the 16th for a baseball tournament.
I'm in Nebraska at the same time.
Where's Tom, Mike?
The baseball season.
You still playing?
Yeah, right. That's right.
I would need all three of you here, otherwise it's a no-go.
I don't have anything like that.
Oh,
2?
Would it be possible to have it prior to the planning meeting, the same night as the scheduled planning meeting in June? As an alternate date?
Yeah, we could. The issue with that is the one agenda item that was missed for tonight, that the applicant had his stuff in on time and we lost it.
Oh,
Got lost in the shuffle. I don't wanna he wants to put a garage up and I don't wanna push him out another whole month if I don't have to. I don't wanna push Jamin and Greg out another month, you know, if we can get it done in 2 weeks. We don't have enough time to notice. Need 2 weeks
It's 2 weeks.
from today.
That's a full meeting for the 16th then?
And two line items on the agenda.
Hour each.
The garage should be a slam dunk, right?
And I, my neighbor had to.
Is there a-
So,
If the time of night was changed, would it help you?
no, I got a 5:45 game, but I could probably get out of that, so. Probably make it.
You can try and schedule it for 5.
Where's your game at? How far?
Wanted to Lauren Park,
Uh-huh.
so.
So now we're looking at 4:30.
I'd just be leaving the game early, so that's fine. I'll be here.
Okay.
That would be the 16th.
What time?
Public hearing at
6:30.
6:30. Thanks. Planning commission at 7.
I don't know if you could do a Teams meeting, join by Teams, if it helps. Obviously, I could do that. I mean, I gotta be honest with you, we've been utilizing the heck out of Teams and it's really been helpful for us. So, I don't know, it's pretty simple. I mean, you guys,
We don't have a laptop.
okay.
Oh, I can Teams.
I mean,
you in.
I can Teams you in on my phone, but it makes it really difficult for anybody to hear you and for you to hear if there's any discussion.
I do remember the one night we had the,
My cell phone, it doesn't work at Oh, it's
No.
awful. But Naomi, you remember the Zoom meeting we had where somebody from your office was on my laptop and he was
Yeah.
participating in our meeting, and it was crystal clear for all of us, and we could see it.
I'm just leaving it open as an option. I mean, when I go to that tournament, I'm gonna have my work phone and my laptop, and I'm gonna be working while we're playing baseball games, so.
So the normal
We
schedule,
have adopted a policy that allows electronic participation.
We did it for you.
Yeah, we've done it already.
I'm not a vote though, he's a vote.
I think you did that with COVID.
Yeah, we had it for COVID.
Okay.
is our normal planning meeting, there's 5 Thursdays in June. Is it the 4th Thursday or 5th Thursday of the month? Will that be that next week? The 23rd,
Our normal meeting.
our normal week.
Yeah.
So that means we'd have planning meetings back-to-back weeks, the 16th and the 23rd. I'm not trying to push it off any further, I'm just asking if we're having difficulty in trying to get everybody together. We just go to the normal 23rd date.
I didn't realize there was 5 Thursdays. Thoughts?
That'd be ideal.
Mary?
I have not had time, of course, to review this plan, but I certainly can work with this fellow with the garage to try and get him to a spot where he can have pretty much all of his ducks in order and pull the trigger on the 25th.
Can you skip plan and go right to board, Vernon?
He doesn't go to board, he just goes off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the 23rd. '23rd? All right,
Process off?
23rd it is. You'll have to notice a public hearing, and I'm gonna have to bribe the board to show up. Well, Tony
Two
will
of
be
you will
here.
be here.
Need 2 more though.
Yep.
We don't need a motion on that, right?
We don't.
Okay, so no action, and we're gonna schedule a public hearing for 6 o'clock on the 23rd.
Quick question, is there a remediation plan for the DNR for that site?
No, there's no remedial action plan that's been placed. The DNR set a window that expired back in January to have a remedial action plan, and the DNR has not come back and asked for it again, even though they said that they were going to basically put a.
Use the enforcement word.
Yeah, they used the enforcement word if there wasn't a remedial action plan put in by the end of January, this past January, but they have not enforced it yet.
We can't get a remedial action plan until there's a environmental site assessment done for the site. That's the whole.
Now, the DNR has the right to come in and put that enforcement action in place anytime that they want now, because they have given notice.
Is 6 o'clock early enough for public hearing? I'm assuming we're gonna have a pretty healthy turnout.
Oh, you do, okay.
I'm just saying, I mean, I know the adjacent properties.
Yeah, like probably 42 people.
I wouldn't say 42, but I'm betting probably 8, you know? Plus if we can get the DNR here and, you know, the attorney and whoever else we need. You know, I know the DNR likes to talk a lot, and, 6 o'clock is fine, we'll cut them off. We got a schedule to keep. 6 o'clock, and then we'll do, planning at 7, and then board at, we gotta get a board after planning.
All the same night?
Yeah,
Yep.
well, we wouldn't have to.
Would there be a board meeting the next week?
No, it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Thursdays.
If you could just put an agenda out, just put it on.
So you put board immediately following public hearing and then planning immediately following board?
No, it's gotta be the other way,
Planning
first.
Planning recommends to the board. Well, I'll talk to the board and see what their feeling is. I mean, I've got a month,
Tell me I need you.
so what?
Just kidding.
All right, thank you. Moving along, item 6E. Review, discussion, possible action / approval of the proposed use, storage of vehicles / personal items, minor installation of vehicle accessories and personal vehicle maintenance, use / occupancy in units 3 and 4 of building 1 of the Lake Park Storage condos. The applicant is Roman Hack, doing business as Next Level Auto and Diesel LLC. The unit's owner is Schwid Properties LLC. The property is Zone B3 General Business District with a recorded deed restriction and development agreement further controlling use and occupancy within this development.
So we have all the applications from the applicant, the original application form that we were using, and then also the updated application form, or addendum A from him. And essentially how he describes his intended use or existing use of units 3 and 4 in building 1 of Lake Park Storage condos is for business storage. And he says storage of vehicles / personal items, minor installation of vehicle accessories, and personal vehicle maintenance. And that raised some questions from the staff level, but also from the planning commission level when this was brought up once previously. And the question really was this, is any of the work that's being done in this unit being done on other people's vehicles, or is it strictly his own personal vehicles? Because the use auto mechanics shop is not among the uses permitted in this development. And there was also some concern that there might be a towing service associated with this. That's not part of the representations in the application. But that again would be something that would not be allowed in the Lake Park Storage under the development agreement of deed restriction. So there you have the description of what he says his use will consist of, business storage, along with those couple of lines of text regarding personal items, installation of vehicle accessories, and personal vehicle maintenance. As far as days and hours at the site, he indicates that it would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. And ordinarily, he says he would expect less than 5 vehicle trips inbound to those units on a regular basis. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the commission to review and discuss whether you're inclined toward approving this occupancy. We'll go from there.
I guess my first question, Fire Marshal Braun, have you done an inspection on these 2 units yet?
The
And
first unit, yes. The second unit, I went in there and I looked, and yes, I did an inspection in this unit also.
as he lives down, he stores gasoline and oil on premise. I just want to make sure that those are being stored properly and
At the time, there was no oil or nothing in there. It was just, the only complaint I had about his is that he built a balcony in the back and it was kind of shady done. I told German, you guys go in there and make sure it's done right for safety purposes only. Fire extinguisher and the exit signs were up, and that's all I had to worry about at that time.
Is anything else being stored in there now?
The only thing that's stored in those buildings right now is I have another building in Waterford. The only vehicles that are in those two buildings right now are my dad's personal car collections, and then my bikes, my personal trucks, and I might have a customer's car in there if it's a really nice car, and I'll store it in there if they're like out of town. And that's basically what those two units are stored or are used for right now.
So there's no diesel mechanic shop or anything else?
No,
that's-
I just have that business name under that unit is because the owner, Steve Schwid, made me put a business name under that unit.
So you were advertising that you were going to be doing that type of work out of that facility?
No, you completely have it wrong. Is that business, I do everything out of the Waterford location. Everything that is at those two buildings are just for storage of every vehicle and everything. And you can ask Jamin, you can ask all the property owners around because I've talked to them. And I'm rarely at that place. I'm probably there 1 or 2 days a week, max. You grab tools or parts or something like that. But I'm not ever like doing anything serious out there. The only reason I wrote on the occupancy working on personal vehicles is maybe we'd take a tire off of one of my dad's cars or something like that. I just didn't want to have like any, suspicion or anything like that going on.
What's the minor installation of vehicle accessories?
That would be basically like grabbing a vehicle that he has there and putting different wheels on it for storage or driving on the road. I mean, we have trucks that have 3 different sets of wheels and stuff on them. Or changing out some seats or something like that. We're not doing like any major vehicle repairs at all over there. I mean, that's probably the most that we'll ever do is change a tire or something like that out of there.
On personal vehicles or on
Yeah,
customer?
just personal vehicles. I do not do any customer stuff out of that location at all.
Once we grant occupancy, or if we grant occupancy, who does enforcement fall back to now? Is it the condo association, the building inspector, or?
Building inspector and the planner, the planning commission. The note that goes along with any occupancy approval that's issued does say that the occupancy is approved for the precise representations made by the applicant in his application and as a part of this meeting, and none other. And so the planning commission has the authority to come back and conduct enforcement if
Yeah,
other
definitely.
activity is happening there. You are subject to periodic inspections, I believe up to twice a year.
Yeah.
Fire inspection and building inspection. So, we do have
Okay.
reasonable steps for enforcement.
You said you had a shop in Waterford.
Yep.
Did you previously, didn't you have a shop in New Berlin too, another address, or no?
No, my address in New Berlin is my personal house.
Okay. Were you working on vehicles out of that location too?
No, never.
Okay.
So from the condominium association, have you been able to validate activity?
I'm not down there near as much as Jamin, he could probably answer that. Jamin?
I will say I never see his doors open. Typically, if he comes in, it's usually in the afternoon. He's there for an hour to 2 hours, and I typically see him pulling out. I would say in the last 2 months, there's been pretty minimal activity there from them out of those units.
Is it based on like, what was it, 2 months ago, when this was initially proposed to us, there was a lot of like, concern that you were running a full-fledged diesel repair business out of there, so
No.
there's a lot of, I guess,
There
I
was
think the concern is still there.
There was a social media post that I think
Several.
that you had that said this is like our new home for our repair business.
No, I
That
feel
was-
like that got completely taken the wrong way. I never, if you look at the location, like I have no tools in there. I have nothing to do anything like that out of there. And I just took pictures of some of the stuff that I have in that building that I built, and I did. Couldn't make a post, basically. And I don't do the amount of work that I do on some of these trucks. It's like there's no possible way I could ever do that in those buildings at all.
I think that was just a concern.
That's a concern, because that's what the buildings, when we were approving these buildings, we go to, from the get-go, is that was always a concern that they were not gonna be ran as a
business.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's no way you could. Even then, because of the traffic and everything, and the space with those units over there.
I've only seen his vehicle going in and out of there, or vehicles, a couple of them. I have never seen like another customers or anybody else's vehicles going in and out of there.
You have no storage of oils or vehicle fluids there? other than
No, I have
ten
nothing.
vehicles?
I mean, I might have a gas can that I'll put in there, like on my race trailer, for like a day or two. I mean, there's gasoline in cars. I mean, I'm not storing no oil or nothing like that.
There's no open containers or anything?
Nope, there's no containers. There's no flammable liquids, nothing.
So I guess the recommendation is basically that the planner recommends the approval grant should be subjected to the applicant acknowledging that the approval is based upon his civil representations given in the application. So I mean, on face value, is that just basically us asking the gentleman on his word that he's not gonna operate a business out of there, and we would grant permission for sightseeing? Is that the way I'm understanding it?
Yep.
Does
All
that-
we have to go on is the representations of an applicant.
Correct,
Always.
that's what I just wanted to.
So,
Does that transfer his application to a pure personal storage then, or does it stay as business?
no, he's still going to be described as pure personal storage, because he's saying he's not doing it.
I thought he was business storage is what he was,
Business.
what was on his
Yeah.
application?
Business storage.
Yes, business storage. But not a small contract.
So I mean, based on what he's describing, it's all personal though. So what direction do we go with the application?
Oh, I see what you're asking.
Yeah.
So it's just personal tools and personal equipment?
Everything in
It's not
there is
business
personal,
related?
and then there's probably been one vehicle that I've actually had to keep in there that was not mine, due to the fact that it was wintertime and it was a really nice vehicle. I couldn't keep it outside in the workshop, and that's very rarely if I ever have to ever do that, and that's on me too as a business owner. I have business insurance on that, so if anything like that were to happen to the customer's car, it'd be on me.
So you're thinking that maybe it should be called personal storage?
Well, he's got business storage.
I would-
Sure.
Yeah.
I would assume you keep it as a business storage.
I would leave it as a business storage too, because he has it, as his business as the occupant. That would be my opinion.
subject to, building inspection?
This would be the final approval of the occupancy. Inspection will still go out and inspect the building and issue the permit.
Because he'd be able to determine if there's any minor repair. That would change the building code classification for the use, which would require additional safeguards in the building.
Will he be informed of the discussions we had here tonight, the findings we had?
Yeah, they'll be memorialized in the minutes, and I believe you share those with Jason when he asks for them.
I made a motion to approve the planner's recommendation and that the applicant is following what the recommendations are, that it is not being run as a business.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I think he's pretty much put down everything on paper we're asking for. Right, is what you're step over this line and there'll be consequences.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Good luck. Item 7, planners report.
I don't have anything.
Item 8, fire inspector's report.
I really don't have anything. I mean, everything is going fine. Out there riding around, looking, checking things out.
Guys, it's not even.
I'm trying to work for for Tony for his
See
hydrant.
how.
I'm working for that, you know, getting a price for your hydrant. I'm still, it's really, a lot of people are busy. So I'm trying to get them, we're trying to move that along as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Probably the next meeting I should have it for you.
Very good, thank you. Jason, give you anything?
No report.
Okay. He called me and he said he wasn't coming, so. Engineers report, item 10, Naomi.
Lake Park Storage Condos, phase 2 is underway. Ripple Brook East, we are going to have a pre-construction meeting next week, Thursday, on site. Construction will start after we get a signed developer's agreement and a letter of credit.
Did you see Eric's email? He can't make it. And I won't be there either.
So we might have to reschedule that.
Thursdays are bad, especially when you get a board meeting that night in finance.
Okay, so hopefully next week sometime.
But, I mean, I don't think I had a whole lot to the pre-con meeting, but Eric would.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see that, thank you. And then Douglas Court, I still do not have a schedule for the mill and overlay, for the mill and paving at Douglas Court that needs to happen. I called Payne & Dolan, Madeline at Payne & Dolan, to see if she could give me a schedule, and I didn't get a reply. What I'm going to ask is maybe we can put it on the board meeting agenda, because I think we'll have a captive audience and maybe get some kind of schedule. Can we put Douglas Court on a board meeting agenda item to get a schedule?
We can ask. I mean, I asked Mike a month and a half ago, 2 months ago,
Yeah, I've been asking her.
and, you know, he told me the same thing he told you. He's like first on their schedule when they get the machines out.
They're probably out.
They're all,
I was gonna say, I saw some, I didn't see Payne & Dolan, but I saw other
Yeah.
competitors.
Yeah, it's concerning to me because they're not gonna wanna do it. I mean, the projects right now are coming in, like, paving projects are twice what we're estimating.
Mhm.
And they're getting a lot of money for,
Yeah, and this was a very
and this is gonna be a.
short bid quote.
Right, so, I'm a little, I don't wanna be chasing it down in October.
Right.
So, any questions for me?
have you got any as-built stuff too?
We do need that, no, not from that, but I do need that as well.
There are no more questions for Naomi. Correspondence, any? Excellent. Commissioner Bennett.
Maybe we'll adjourn.
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You are adjourned.
Not what?
Hey, it's been a pleasure joining you guys.
Are you done now?
Thanks, you.
Over it? Are you quitting already?
I'm out of here.
These guys.
This
I've
is
been
fun.
saying that for so long.
Oh, thanks. It's not even my birthday.